Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TechRaptor podcast. I'm Robert Scarpinito, your features editor.
Andrew Otton, editor-in-chief.
Andrew Stretch. I'm going to be the hurricane editor again.
Oh,
yeah.
Again? Oh, that's right. Why do you keep editing them to come your way?
I don't volunteer to take on any hurricanes, but hurricanes keep coming to me. So
Pretty
it's just the way it goes.
Go to Georgia and North Carolina. You owe that state in the pot.
Yeah, I have the power to control the weather.
Well, you're like Trump. You just went over there with the Sharpie, and you're like, eh.
Go the other way.
You did
I
it.
forgot about the Sharpie thing. What a fucking idiot.
Yeah, when he does so much dumb shit. Yeah.
That is an SNL skit, though. Like,
It's beautiful. That's what's so when it's so crazy that you can't even parody it. You're like, I don't even know what to do now.
yeah.
Your life's crazy.
Anyway, yeah. If you are affected by the hurricane out there, I hope you are doing okay.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, it sounds pretty rough out there. But we hope we can give you at least an hour here of just kind of some chill discussion to take your mind off things. Because this week we're talking about a couple big games. Two of them coming out later this week for you, unless you buy the early access version of one of them. But that's a whole thing. We're going to talk about Metaphor ReFantazio. We're going to talk about Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and then Deadlock, the Steam, the Valve
game they suddenly released.
Yeah, the one that's like kind of in early access, and you couldn't talk about it until sort of recently-ish.
Yeah.
But let's kick things off. We'll talk about Metaphor ReFantazio, or I've been calling it Persona 5.5 personally. Is that correct, Stretch?
I mean, it is. It's so. Atlas is really the only company that I can think about this that apes off their own work so hard, but they continue to.
Have you played the Yakuza series?
Oh, that's true. But they continue to like evolve the formula and improve it so much. Like, I remember when I first played Persona 5, then going back to try to play, 4 and 3. It's good to see that the quality of life improvements continue, and they have once again successfully taken some big steps with ReFantazio as well. My review should be live on the site by now. I've got a whole bunch of fun guides coming out on Friday on launch date. So if you're interested in knowing, how do I rank up with this archetype, or just how much time do I have? Because really, like, playing through this blind, I was like, oh shit, do I have enough time? Can I do these things? Like, when are the surprise days where I'm gonna like not be able to do something? When's the last day? So I made sure to get all of that together.
When is my exam? When do I have to take the exam?
Thankfully, no exams, no tests, no need to know weird
random trivia,
Japanese trivia.
So it's structured. Is it structured like a lot of other Persona games where? Well, I shouldn't say other, because like it isn't a Persona game.
Yeah.
So it's a day by day thing, and there is a deadline for stuff.
And I haven't played the demo because I was playing the full game. But if you've played the demo, you've kind of got that main setup. It starts with, you on a quest to avenge the king. And then, some stuff happens and the Tournament of the Throne gets announced. And the Tournament of the Throne is for anyone who wants to throw their hat into the ring to become the king, because becoming the king has become a popularity contest. There are set events in there's an event that happens in Grand Trad, the main city. And then there's talks of, other major events happening in other portions of the world. So they kind of do a good job of setting up like a massive overarching story that is what requires your character and the party to move from this part of the world to this part of the world. But then every time you come to this new place, there's also this other kind of story going along. In all honesty, it actually reminded me a lot of the story structure and like the movement of Persona 5 Strikers, which had the Persona group, the Phantom Thieves, touring around, but not just being in Japan in this crazy, fully fleshed out world where there is so much diversity in the races and poverty and goddamn so much prejudice.
So the gamers will really like it.
God. Yeah, no, they'll feel right at home. So they do a good job of, making sure that you understand, like, this is the time limit, this is like the scope of the game, and here's when you'll be going to the different places. But then, like in Persona, it's like, okay, the deadline's here, but before that final deadline, like, there is a story dungeon you need to do. And then there's also a whole bunch of side dungeons. They haven't got, one big, very repetitive mega dungeon. They've got different side quests because creatures have been seen here, or someone went out hunting and got lost in this one, or, you need to recover some mythical weapon from a different one. So there are reasons to go out and explore the world more and to see these dungeons and spend time with your party members to level them up and everything. So there's so much of the DNA there. Truly, you could slap someone in front of it and say, hey, this is the new Persona game. They made it high fantasy. And you just go, yeah, of course. Like, that's what this is.
When you say find mythical weapons and stuff, is there any more kind of interesting stuff going on with equipment? Because Persona, that's never been a big. It's like just go get the bigger thingy, more or less.
So they have a much wider variety of weapons and stuff that you can pick up. You've got the normal kind of fluctuations on that of like different ones like different pieces of equipment may allow you to be like more resistant to something, or you can go like one character can go twice in a turn, or the kind of regular modifiers. Really, where a lot of the interesting system comes into is the archetypes, which is the equivalent of the demons or the personas. That your main character starts off as the seeker archetype, and then you unlock your first party member who is the warrior, and then the third party member is the knight archetype. Each archetype has their own set of skills, but then you can kind of spec into, you can like pick another archetype to allow that person to access, and then train them up. And then they'll have their regular set of skills, and then they can also have inherited skills, which it's not like Persona. Persona, where like, okay, I want to fuse this one and this one so that like I can have these base ones and like this from monster A and this from monster B, and like kind of shuffle it all together. This is just like, if you have any inherited skills from any of the other ones, you can pick and choose through them. Right. So, a really good early thing to do is to spec into like the wizard, the mage archetype. Let me double check what it's called. Yeah, the mage archetype, because that gives you each of like the basic elemental damage.
So then if you end up the same name as always too?
No, they've all got different names.
But it's the same thing, right?
100% the same thing.
Oh, that's kind of irritating. I wish they'd leave it to like Final Fantasy or whatever. Like it's all the same, whatever.
Yeah. No, I look for which has the longer name, and then it will have like an image of the affinity next to the name as well. So I don't actually need to worry about what they're called.
Right.
I'll just I'll just look for the little icon.
Beautiful.
But that variety is really interesting. It adds a whole lot, and especially in the later game where like I finished the game with my main character having access to like 25 different archetypes. So just the number of skills that you can have between what the archetype has and then the 4 optional ones, you can really spec out and make your character interesting.
And can you swap archetypes in the middle of battle, or it's like once you start a battle you were stuck?
Not in the middle of battle. At the start of the game, you can only swap by going to the equivalent of like the Velvet Room. Okay. And then very, very early on, you level up your relationship with the character in charge of academia, which is the Purple Room in this, the Velvet Room in this. And he's like, oh, with our newfound power, like you can now spec your archetypes wherever you want. And at that point, it just becomes like a pause menu option.
Right.
It's funny that they need to be like, we need to have a lore reason for this. Like, you know what I mean? How do we write this in?
Yeah. There is some stuff with the archetypes that I cannot talk about at this time. One of the things that I do think is really cool is that there are some archetypes that are very clearly references to past Atlas franchises and stuff. Like the Masked Dancer ends up being able to upgrade to its elite form, which is just the persona user. And so that character, like, they have their own special type of accessory item, which are masks, and the different masks give different elemental abilities. But then also, like, you know, you can pretty much summon like the demons and stuff that you would expect to see in a more traditional Shin Megami Tensei Persona game as well.
That's
so there's
cool,
some
actually.
fun like winks, nudges, a little bit of like, here's some prior elements we're gonna hand to you.
And what are the social kind of gameplay like? Like, what is it like? Because I'm thinking like with Persona, right? You hang out with your friends to build up your social links, which then makes it stronger when you're fusing personas, right?
Yeah.
So do the social links or whatever they're called in this tie back to the archetypes in any way?
Yeah. Anytime you like unlock a new archetype or have a skill be learnable across all of them, you need to purchase it with a currency called mag. So leveling up will decrease the amount of mag that you need to spend on something. It will also increase the number of additional inherited skills you can use. So like at the start of the game, if I'm the Seeker character and I've got a low rank, then I can only have one skill from my other list. But by the end of the game, you can have 4. So it lets you have like the full abilities of the Seeker, and then I can be like, oh, I want like 2 skills from Warrior, a skill from Mage, and like a healing skill to let you like spec it out. For the main party, a lot of that building up is also like they gain full, like they gain 100% experience even when they're not in combat, which is great. And then for the non-party members, there are other effects like discounts in stores, and sometimes you'll get like a little care package sent to you with some rare items.
Okay.
In terms of the ranking them up, though, it is way easier in this game to do than in prior ones. You don't need to like have some kind of invisible metric of how much they like you, and then once you like hit a certain point, then you'll be able to have like the rank up conversation. The majority of the rank ups just happen in time. There are some that require you to have like your stats at a certain level, because you've got like the 5 stats that are different from like combat stats,
right? The social stats
it's courage, wisdom, tolerance, eloquence, and imagination. In this one. Hey, man, people in this world are really not tolerant. But aside from that, you've got to focus on ranking up those 5 stats, but the rest should all just kind of come as long as you're not like wasting days doing inopportune stuff. Like the last 8 days of my playthrough, I just slept in a bed because I had already maxed out all of my relationships and I had maxed out my stats.
Wow. So it is possible to do that in one playthrough.
Yeah. In fact, it seems somewhat easy to do that.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like that's always been the most stressful part of a Persona playthrough, right? It's like, okay, I'm about to commit 100 hours to this, and if I can't see everything, what's the point?
Yeah.
I'd be crazy. There's no way I'm going to replay this again in the future because it's so long. Oh, there's the Royal came out? Okay, I play it all again.
Yeah, for real. Who knows? Who knows what they could add, really? But they'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll be a moron that'll play it again.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I would too. I mean, I did that with Royal, right? For sure. Mm-hmm.
So you've been teasing us with these intolerant people. What's the story like? Because like Persona, it will get into some heavy stuff sometimes, but most of the time it's pretty upbeat, like pretty light slice of life kind of stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, like this world is made up of like 10 different races, and like from the very beginning, you have the Clamars, who are the horned race, and they're kind of the you know, the superpower race, not for like any, you know, added abilities that they have, but it's just like, oh, they have horns, they're better than me.
Okay.
That's how
You know,
racism works.
I mean, that
pretty
is
much.
basically
So,
how it
yeah.
the Rosiantes are the kind of the traditional elven people with like long pointed ears. But like, and then there's the Yuji, the bat people, Ishkia, the bird people, Mastari are people who have 3 eyes. And then your character is an Elda, who is like the lowest of the low. You have no fucking interesting traits about you.
Just a human.
Well, no,
Well,
because
God,
the humans are like the fucked up abomination monsters that are like, I mean, they look like biblically accurate demon kind of like level weirdness.
So they're calling something weird humans, but you're playing a human. I've seen the trailers. I'm not going crazy here.
You're playing an Elda.
Okay. This is
but
the
like
problem
the first time
fantasy stories.
the first time that you see like a Rusiantis, someone calls them knife ears. And then someone calls out to a bat person and calls them a blood eyes. And it's just like, wow, there is. And like, they don't even talk to the Parapus, who are like the dog and beast people, because they're just like, you don't even converse with them because they're just like fucking nothing underneath your feet. But then like,
wow.
After understanding that there's like this weird fucked up hierarchy, you'd walk into a room where something's gone wrong, and a Parapus, so a dog person, and an elf person will both be talking to each other and go, oh, no wonder shit's gone bad. A fucking Elder's here. And it's like, damn. Like,
wild.
You ever walk in a room and everybody just stares at you like, oh, great.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's insane how much. And they really, like, you'll be walking down the street, and like a little speech bubble will pop up, or you're here in the background. It's like, is that the Elder boy that people are talking about seeing?
Do they ever do anything interesting with it, or is it just like, hey, this is how the world is, which is
no, what they do that's really interesting, and something that I really like more than Persona, is that for building up the relationships with your followers, because different members of your followers are different races, that like, it won't just be, oh, like, this person, you know, wishes that they could be a better track runner. Let me go eat ramen with them. And you just like kind of have a weird stilted conversation. Each follower story is like its own major quest line. Like, you know, everyone is dealing with some kind of stigma, loss, grief, anxiety, dark past, yada yada.
Why would they? Like, why can't we just have a character that's like, everything's going great, dude? Just want to chill. Like,
you want to grab a beer?
You want to be around while things continue to go great for me.
But yeah, each of these follower stories like goes into it, and it all contributes to the world building, and like the Stroll, the first party member you get, who you meet in the demo, you know, he's part of a family of nobles that all of their land was destroyed when a human attacked, and then he finds that a bunch of the people who were like, you know, who worked on the land for his family had also escaped to the main city. So he's kind of about like, well, am I still a noble? Am I not a noble because I don't have anything? Should I be trying to become a noble and get money again, or should I help out, you know, the people who were so good to my family? And like, he gets a whole fantastic narrative story arc, and that's the same for every single character. They get some big adventure, and it feels so much more than like, oh, I'm gonna go eat ramen.
Hey, don't diss ramen.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
What
it's
the
good.
fuck,
It's
dude?
good.
Yeah,
We
but
like
the
Persona.
social link with the guy who eats ramen is just like, we couldn't do anything better here, guys.
Hey,
You're hanging out with people at school.
yeah, and you get rid of a shitty track coach or something. I think.
That's right.
Maybe
He's like
I don't remember.
being mean to students and stuff.
Yeah,
And
but no,
so, it's also
I think that
perverted.
the game is great. The adventure is great. The world is incredible. They've got kind of weird anime cutscenes that play more frequently than the anime cutscenes that played in Persona.
Yeah.
And I think that it's either the video, whatever video file is playing is unoptimized, or it's just like going from whatever the in-game frame rate is to the animated cutscene frame rate, and it comes off kind of stuttery.
I mean, I kind of felt that way with Persona 5's cutscenes too, and I think that's. I mean, it's not like a bad thing necessarily. At least with Persona 5, I don't know how it is in Metaphor yet, but
Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, but it's still like a little bit like, well. But I'm looking forward to the anime, because that's probably going to be the way that I replay this game. I'm not going to put another 85 hours into it.
I forget that they do that.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they've managed to successfully do it with like all of, Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5, and 5 even got 2 anime. So like,
Well, 5 like was so
no,
crazy.
so did 4 get 2?
No, maybe I know 3 got 2 movies, not series.
3 got 4 movies.
Did it get 4?
Yep.
Jesus.
They've all got fantastic names too.
Yeah. I don't
So
know.
3 got 4 movies, 4 got a regular series and then a golden series. And the golden series works as like a series of one-off episodes where the golden specific character is in them. So you need to like watch the regular show and then know where to watch the specific golden episodes.
Just a normal way to watch a TV show.
5 got the prologue anime, and then it also got the anime. Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that Metaphor will get an anime, and I'm really looking forward to it. There's a lot of moments that happen that I'm like, this is really cool watching it in game. This is going to be really fucking cool watching it fully animated.
Nice. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Metaphor. I mean, like, Persona has been a favorite series of mine for a long time, and like, I know this isn't the same thing, but also, I mean,
Come on.
yeah.
Come on.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful to have the popularity of Persona 5, because that like blew up. I mean, the other ones were popular, but Persona 5 is really when. Are they gonna have a Joker level like, hey, this is just super popular in the face of everything or whatever? I wonder. Is there a talking cat?
I can't imagine the protagonist having as many crossovers, because like Joker has been in fucking everything now.
Yeah.
Fucking Smash, dude. Like,
Yeah. And I mean, when I think about that though, it's like I think Joker is like so stylish that he's cool to see. You know what I mean?
That's part of it.
The main character of Metaphor, I mean, doesn't strike me with that same sort of like kind of so stylish appeal, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
But yeah, no, there's so many cool things that happen, especially obviously in like the later game, that I just can't wait to talk with people about. But I know that I'm only going to be having these conversations with people in like 2 months, and it is so heartbreaking.
I want to see some other like cool settings or genres get tackled by this the Persona like design, like set in a sci-fi world or something set. I guess it's the fantasy world. Let's get a fucking superhero.
Or I'd be down for like modern day city, but you're all adults, not high schoolers.
Yeah.
You know, that would be kind of interesting.
Something. I guess anywhere. Like it's structured enough that it could work in like a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. There's just not really that many games that balance that like everyday calendar day social linking stuff with like dungeon crawling and RPG stuff.
All kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah.
I'm totally the type of person that like wants to complete everything, but wants to complete everything in a single shot. It's like the first time before I ever properly played Dead Rising, I went and did like the thing where you went and drove in the parking lot to get enough kills to get the Mega Buster so that I could one-hit kill enemies. That just made the entire game more manageable because I knew that I didn't want to play it like 2 or 3 times to get everything.
Right.
The fact that like the Persona games kind of frustrated me when I first got into them because it was like I want to do everything. Like it is such an artificial limit and it's so obtuse. It's like
diagram.
Yeah, and it's so obtuse at times. Like, what can I be doing right now? What should I be doing? What's the most efficient thing to be doing? And it made me feel like there was a way to play it wrong.
Yeah.
This game doesn't have that. In that, like, at any point you can like bring up the map, and you can see on the map like specifically which stat increase things are available at the moment and for what stat, as well as if you pull up your followers, it will like either show them with no symbol if there's nothing you can do. It'll show them with like a gray handshake symbol if it's like, okay, they're ready to rank up, but you have like a requirement. And if you just click on that in the menu, it will say, I'm not really sure I should talk with this person right now. Maybe they would be more receptive if I had more courage. And then that's like okay, cool. Like I now know that like, hey, this person's ready. I should probably spend a little bit of time working on my courage. And it does like better job funneling you towards like, this is the next thing you should work on.
And it tells you that like in the menu.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice. Cause I remember in Persona, like they'll tell you that like, oh, if only I had more courage, but you have to like walk up to the person and like, you know, that all takes, I mean, I know it's like baby tears, right? Like, oh no, you spent a minute walking around the world. But,
hey, when it's an 84-hour game, that like 1 minute to like teleport and then walk and find someone. And even when someone is ready to level up, when they've got the handshake and it's red, you can just like click A in that menu and it's like, how should I talk to that person? You say yes, and it will warp you right in front of them.
That's pretty nice.
That it cuts out a lot of the, you know, and they're very short. Like, you know, it would be like time saves of 10 seconds every time you do it. But
adds up
when the game starts, you know, and lasts over months, that saves time.
Yeah, it does. It could be the difference between a speedrun world record or not, you know.
I don't even know, what does a Persona speedrun look like?
a lot.
Yeah,
It's not how our writer Dan Rockwood's playing them.
No.
He has played Persona 5 Royal. He plays it on the calendar day. He plays the day.
Yeah.
Like now he's doing Persona 3. So he plays one day every day.
I would say
I remember it was the year when he was at Christmas Eve. I was like, oh no, because that's like the final fight.
Ahead.
Yeah.
Yes. He was prepared.
This game does not last a full 12 months. So even that gameplay challenge would be far more efficient. Also, the hard true ending Persona 5 speedrun is currently 15 hours. How do you do that? I guess if you skip all dialogue.
Yeah, probably skip all dialogue and find like the most efficient attack pattern or whatever, you know.
That's insane.
That is pretty wild.
Damn.
Yeah, because the Persona games, they don't strike me as the kind where it's like, and if you wall glitch here, you'll go straight to Ganon. Like, you know.
No, because there's so many events you have to do to trigger a thing.
Yeah,
exactly. But
wow.
Yeah, that's Metaphor ReFantazio. The full review is up on our site. If you'd like to take a gander. Man, I'm just excited. Yeah, and if you want to pre-game it, the prologue demo's been out for like a week or so at the point of this writing. Or at this,
you have 2 weeks to finish it before Dragon Age comes out, and then the next games come out, and then a bunch of other games come out.
Hey, it's okay. 80 hours in 2 weeks. It's only replacing your full-time job.
Yeah, but good news, Assassin's Creed isn't coming out next month, so.
That's true.
But I did hear that there's 10 of them coming out in the next 5 years, so you're good. Just hang out. Ubisoft's in a good place.
Yeah, and if you want more on that, you can listen to last week's episode. So I've been playing a lot of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero.
Well, is it a new story set in the Dragon Ball world?
Kind of, yes, actually. Like, I mean,
I don't know. I don't buy it.
I mean, like, it's the first time they're doing Dragon Ball Super in the Tenkaichi format, right?
Officially, yes.
Officially, yes. I mean, so yeah, this is the, if you've lived not in Japan, it's the Budokai Tenkaichi series. That, I mean, it was called Sparking in Japanese. That's how it was there. So that's why they're just calling this one Sparking Zero. Yeah. But if you play those old games, it is that game in today's graphics with Unreal Engine. And I mean, like, honestly, that's like all I needed. There's a few like small gameplay tweaks that do make it a bit more I don't know, like active, right? It's a little bit different enough. Like the camera does work a lot better now, so you're not just like lost all the time. And there's like, you know, perfect parries and like defensive parries, or like while you're getting attacked, you can like use a meter to like kind of get a burst rush, like get out of that, you know. So they've added a few things that do make it feel a bit more like competitive, but it's still fucking like, if you're Super Gogeta and you're fighting a Cyberman, like there's so much. Yeah, there's so much a Cyberman can do, right? So there is like an online ranked mode in this, and I'm just like, you know, A for effort. I don't know why, but A for effort.
Serious, like, because for people that it's not like fighters, it's not like a traditional fighting game. It's like you're flying around 3D space. It's like giving you the fantasy of playing a Dragon Ball Z fight.
It's a full 3D fighter, and it is unbalanced as hell.
Yes, it's a 3D arena fighter. Yeah,
you're throwing people through walls, through buildings, through mountains. Beautiful.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun, and it's very flashy, and you know, it's basically like a Dragon Ball sandbox, in like the best way. You know, you can set up like team fights, choose your team, and just like do whatever, you know, in those fights. And I found in the battle mode, if you're just setting up like random fights between certain characters, they've gone that extra mile to like add unique before the fight dialogue for characters, you know. So I mean, if it's like Goku versus Frieza, you know, there's a classic, like, you know, I mean, what you'd expect. But then I did Dispo, who's like that bunny-eared character in Universe 11 and Super, who is the fastest Justice Trooper, and I put him against Birder, who is the fastest in the universe of the Ginyu Saga, and they both banter about who's faster. So they even thought of that, like characters who will never meet, like, but they have something in common. So that's a lot of fun.
How big can these teams be that you have fighting going at each other?
5v5.
Dude, so you could just like make the Ginyu Force and like fucking go at them.
Yes, you could just make the
whole. I assume that they would appear and do the full pose.
You have to.
Oh, I have to try that. I have to try that.
Yeah, see if they do it. If they don't, they fucked up. You got to knock a whole point off the review. That's a mess. That's a big mess up.
Yeah. But I think that the biggest thing that stands out to me is that it feels like very much a love letter to fans of Dragon Ball. I would not call this like, if you've never experienced the story of Dragon Ball Z, and for some reason now in 2024 you're like, I kind of want to experience it, this is not.
Hey man, you might want to catch up before Daima starts in like a week.
Well, I think it's Kakarot like probably better for that.
Kakarot would probably be the best way to like get the story.
Get into it through a game. That would be the one.
Yeah, I think so. Because this is like the Cliff Notes of the Spark Notes version of the story. You know, they'll be like, so the way the story mode is set up, it's broken into 8 character episodes where you follow a specific character through the Dragon Ball story, right? So with Goku, what that means is, since he like is always dead until the final fight, basically, you skip most of every saga. Yeah, so it's like you fight Raditz in the beginning, and then you die to Raditz, because that's how the story goes. And then it's like, and then everyone fights Nappa, and then now Vegeta kills Nappa, and now Goku is here. Now you fight Vegeta. Like that, it skips all of that in like a minute, you know? So that's kind of the whole structure. Like the Namek saga is like 2 or 3 fights for Goku, because you fight Ginyu, and then you fight Frieza twice.
Yeah.
So you just get to see Goku using all of his most powerful attacks.
Yeah, I've made the sub headline of my review Kamehameha times 100, and that's not a strength thing. That is a number of times you will hear him say it.
So would you say that it's Goku's greatest hits?
Yes, it is very much that.
That's basically all I want to hear in that game.
Trust me, you'll hear it. Even the moves that don't say Kamehameha end with a Kamehameha sometimes, because it's like a burst rush and he knocks them away and then
How
does
many
it.
times I yelled that as a kid running around and did the most? Did it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's the power fantasy,
Fuck,
but
I'm gonna have to play this now too. God, fuck you.
It is
For
pretty
telling
cool.
me about this game.
I think one thing I really do like about it though with the story mode is, so if you're going into this as someone who knows the story and you're like, I don't need to know whether Goku will beat Frieza or not, right? There's a lot of what if scenarios in the story mode, and like a lot, like some of them are short and simple. Like what if Goku does really beat Cell at the Cell games? Then there's like a short little cutscene that plays, right? Or there's one where it's like, okay, what if through certain series of events, Goku goes Super Saiyan against Vegeta on Earth, right? And then that extends out and like goes into like events that would be the Namek saga typically. Like it changes all of that completely, and it's like an 8 fight long alternate like fan fiction thing.
That's pretty rad.
Yeah. There are stories where it's like Gohan has his story mode, and he normally gets shafted after like beating Cell, like he just doesn't do anything after that. But there's a whole alternate what if of like, what if Gohan was essentially the major hero of the Dragon Ball Super events kind of thing, So it tweaks things that way, and it's like it's just a nice little nod and wink to like, because the Dragon Ball community, there's like so many like what if YouTube videos out there. You'll come across it. Just search it, right? Like everyone's like, what if Goku was Super Saiyan 5 at the start of Dragon Ball Z? Like that sort of shit,
Yeah.
Flicks people and they fucking die.
Yeah. So it taps into that kind of weird, like cool alt universe scenarios that I think it's like, I don't know, pretty fun to experience those.
I always love how DBZ is so non-serious about that, even in terms of like their own legitimate published content as well. Because like Xenoverse was a lot of like what if scenarios built into the story of a time travel adventure.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've had the branch with like GT becoming XV, and like all the Super Saiyan 4 stuff exists there. They had a game on the DS that like no one played that was all about fusions, and you could literally like fusion dance any two characters together. So you could have like Krillin and a Cyberman fused.
Oh, that's cursed.
And, like that was just the gameplay mechanic of this game, is that everyone got to fuse.
Oh, how pissed would fucking Krillin be? He's like, I'm shorter.
I'm balder. But yeah, for them to go like, okay, everyone knows this fucking story, and especially it is like, I know that they've got the Goku Daima as a pre-order character. Is there any like story content for Daima in the game?
No, not that I've seen. And he's still locked for me because I've played 17 hours of it so far. That's including like finishing the story mode and then like testing out a few of the other modes. Daima Goku is still locked on my end. I haven't seen him in the shop yet, so I don't know. Maybe it's like until it comes out. I can't.
I know that he was a pre-order bonus.
Yeah, pre-order bonus.
With review codes, it's always kind of iffy whether we do or do not get pre-order bonus codes.
Yeah, so I cannot really confirm that yet.
Yeah.
But there is no Daima story in the story mode, and there's also no GT story if you were looking forward to that. And so far in I haven't seen every what if scenario, because like a lot of them are like you have to do a certain thing in a battle, right? And that it takes a lot of rinsing and repeating, and there's a lot of them. So I cannot for sure say there's no GT stuff in story mode. But there's no like GT episode of like, there's no Super 17 arc or the Shadow Dragons arc,
Yeah, but they're in the game, so sure.
Yes, they are in the game. Yeah. Yeah. and all the movie villains are also in the game, but there is also no movie like saga or whatever to go through. But I did do a little battle of like movie Broly versus, well, Dragon Ball Z movie Broly versus Dragon Ball Super Broly. And in that one, like Z Broly is like, I wonder who's really stronger. You know, it's like, okay, that's probably something that nerds have talked about online for sure.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
It's like the final what if scenario, you unlock Superman appears.
I'll say they gotta just team up. They gotta get something with Superman showing up, right?
That would be pretty good.
That would at some point that has to happen.
Well, it's coming out on PC, so I mean, modders can.
Oh yeah, but
figure
modders.
something out.
I was gonna say, I know that, like, I made the joke unofficially before. Scrappy, were you aware at all of the amazing modding community that there is for Budokai Tenkaichi 3?
Not the extent of it. I know it exists.
So, like, every single time a new character has come out, a total mod has been made for said character, and they've also done a whole bunch of like mod fusions as well. So you can get a mod that is Goku and Jiren fused, and then you can get insane stuff as well, like a Goku Jesus Christ fusion, because Jesus Christ is a playable mod. And I'm looking at my screen now that someone made a fusion of Goku and one of the minions as a playable character in Budokai Tenkaichi 3.
You can have the
amazing.
power of anime and Jesus on your side.
Oh, that's too powerful.
Oh no!
Oh, I love that.
Have you toyed around at all in the movie mode for sparking?
The like the custom battle mode thing?
Yeah, where you can like program in your own stuff.
Yeah, so I toyed around.
Like a fight.
You can program so much in this, Andrew. It's
You
truly
can program cutscenes.
you can program cutscenes and fights. So there's so you can create your own episodes, and it's definitely a little bit janky in the way of like all the dialogue is like preset sentences, and then you can like change out the subject or whatever.
Someone's gonna get that going though.
Yeah. Like again, with PC modding, that can totally be broken out, right? But I did find that to be really tedious, because then it's like when you pull up, like I want to choose dialogue, it's like a list of 1,000 sentences, and the filters for them are really vague and nondescript. So it was hard to get through that, and like the character list is like not alphabetical. I don't know why that doesn't make sense to me.
Go.
Oh, they do have actually in there like a list. It's like Goku parentheses Ginyu, Goku parentheses like Zamasu. You know, it's like they do that sort of thing where it's like, oh, like what if Zamasu invaded all these other people's bodies or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, but so that mode is interesting. There's a lot of different ways to like pose your characters, give them like different faces, and then the dialogue options are a lot to get through. But like if you were dedicated and really want to make your own fanfic come to life, I think there's enough tools here where you can get something you would at least be happy with. And their camera options around like the cutscenes, there's like so many different ones that I think there's a way to get around like what you would want to build up. And like as you play through the story mode, you unlock more camera options, more scene options. So yeah.
That's what I was not expecting you to say that at all.
Yeah, it's real. Yeah, that's what you do. It's like
here's a Dutch angle.
Yeah,
you unlocked it.
Because the way the story mode works is I think they use that editor. I mean, they probably have a better version of it, right? But it's all like you could theoretically remake the entire story mode with it.
So you could like choreograph a fight in there.
Yes, and then you can do if then statements to like if this character's health gets below this, like they transform into Super Saiyan, or you know they get swapped out or whatever. So you can really do a lot of storytelling within a battle as well, which is really cool.
Because I know it's a popular thing. Like there's certain like people on Twitter, YouTube, wherever that are like they'll go to specific games and like do wild combat crazy shit. I mean that's what Dragon Ball is, doing crazy shit. So that's gonna be someone's gonna put out some cool stuff.
Oh yeah.
And like
this is essentially Mario Maker, but for Dragon Ball Z fights. Like you get to pose your action figures, and then you get to do the fight.
Yes.
Beautiful. And just like Mario, that's got one of the most iconic and best sounds of all time. The like whatever that blink sound when they move instantaneously,
that one.
it's like one of the best sounds that fits perfectly what they're trying to say. And I don't care if they do it like 10 times in a row. I'm like, yeah.
Oh. Trust me, you can do it 10 times in a row in a fight. It's
that's
so
fine.
much. Yeah, it is.
It's great.
Yeah. One other thing I did want to cover with Dragon Ball as well is the POV aspect of the story mode.
It might be the best part.
It is good, but now for different reasons than when I initially liked it. Because so like the thing they showed off, if you've seen the trailers, is the scene where Goku holds Raditz in the full Nelson and then gets lasered through with Piccolo. You can see that in Goku's POV.
Canon.
Yeah, it's very
ASMR.
funny.
You are getting hit by special beam cannon.
He's whispering it into Raditz's ear.
So you can do that because in those story mode scenes, they're not like a slideshow. They're like fully, like rigged out, moments. So you can see that. But then there's a lot of moments where it's just Vegeta talking to Frieza, and Frieza's far away, and you can do POV Vegeta, but then it's just like a little tiny Frieza on your screen, like yards away from you, just talking to you. And it's kind of silly, and it's like, why is this happening, right? But there are a few really cool ones. Like there's one where in Piccolo's story, you can watch Goku throw the spirit bomb at Frieza, but from like far away. So you kind of like get more of a scale of just how big that ball is,
Awesome.
But then when you swap back to like the normal camera mode, then there's like the more dynamic camera angles of like, here's Goku pushing the bomb, and then here's Frieza like trying to stop it, right? And so you're kind of like picking your battles there. And I think for the most part, the first person POV is a neat idea, but sometimes very awkward in execution.
Sure.
So it's
like a Dragon Ball Z fan.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, there's beam struggles, right? Like that's a very normal thing in Dragon Ball, right? But hey, they're really boring in POV. I'm not gonna lie, because it's in first person, it's just them holding their hands up, pushing a giant beam, and then a big ball in front of you, and that's it. But then when you see it in the other camera angles, it looks way more cool, So
sorry, this is like a toggle. Like you'll be in the middle of a cutscene, and you can just like toggle between like real view and like POV. A specific character's POV, or can you like toggle between everyone's point of view as well?
Just the character of the story mode you're playing. So if you're playing Goku's story mode, you can only see Goku's POV or the normal camera angle, like the story, cameras.
I mean, it's a novelty thing that's just fun. Like it's one of those things that throughout the game, I'm guessing you tried it in every scenario. At least once. Like, I'm gonna see what this looks like. Oh, fuck that. That's weird.
Yeah, pretty much.
You can imagine that the father-son Kamehameha at the end of Cell Saga is just like a white screen. Like, let's check how bright your display gets, motherfuckers.
But it's literally that, and and there are moments like in the father-son Kamehameha moment, right? Like there's. Like Vegeta shoots a blast at Cell at the end, and that's what distracts him enough for Gohan to do the final push, right? If you're doing that in Gohan's POV, you don't see Vegeta do that. So if you've never experienced the story, you're probably just a little confused about what the dialogue is talking about. Like, why is Cell suddenly hurt, right? Like, because all you see is this big ball of energy in front of you, right?
Oh man.
So yeah, definitely like a pick your moments with it, but it is very neat that it exists, and it's just so funnily awkward sometimes too. Just like I just keep thinking of like the one with Vegeta and Frieza talking, and Frieza's like smirking or angry, and it's like a close up, and it's like, oh, that's dynamic, that's impactful, there's emotion. But then you switch to POV, and Frieza's so tiny that you cannot see his face at all. It's just awkward.
We need a first POV shot of Goku eating. Shovel.
That would be pretty good.
Like a mini game in that episode where he takes his driving lesson because Chi-Chi's mad at him.
Just suddenly turns into like Mario Kart for a second.
Yes, that's what we need.
That would be pretty good.
Yo, for real, a Dragon Ball racer would be so fun. Throw some like dinosaurs in there, the little cars, the flying Nimbus. That'd crush.
That would be pretty neat. I would play the shit out of
And
that. For
somehow
sure.
they've structured around the story again. You have to be rabbits in a race.
Mhm.
It's Frieza's other brother, Speeder.
Speeder. Yeah, but
I'm
I'm
so excited for that.
yeah, and I'm excited to see the fan reception too to a lot of the like what if moments, because those are definitely, I think, the most interesting thing in this game is
Yeah.
just how much they brought some of them to life and how off the wall and weird they can be with them.
We're gonna look forward to seeing it at Evo.
I do not expect this game at Evo. I mean, if it's at Evo, it will be like for funsies, not for realsies,
yeah.
you know?
I would love to watch a professional competitive tournament. That'd be insane.
There's enough there for it to be kind of competitive, I guess, but at the end of the day, it's just how much energy you have left to keep doing vanishings. Like once you're out of that energy, it's just a war of attrition. Like
my guess is it'd be one of those things where professionally to like fight, it would be not as fun to watch when you're just like, I'm just gonna go for it.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
exactly.
enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you've bought like the digital deluxe edition or whatever, you are probably already playing the game as of now. But if you were waiting, it does come out on Friday, the same day as Metaphor ReFantazio. So yeah, pick it up. Andrew, you've been playing. Can we talk about it? Are we legally allowed to talk about it?
They didn't make me sign anything.
The Valve lawyers won't descend on us.
Not that I recall. They could have very well have like drugged me, and I don't remember. I was in Seattle recently, and I don't remember everything that happened. So. No, with the Deadlock, I want to talk a little bit about that because I've been playing it. That's the new Valve game that they're just like, yeah, here's a new game, I guess. That we saw a leak for like a little while ago, and then they didn't acknowledge it. And then they like started putting it out to codes, and they didn't acknowledge it after they put thousands of them out there. And then they finally like, all right, I guess you guys can play it. Like, just weird Valve being Valve strangeness. But it's essentially an FPS MOBA, and it's like a Dota inspired one for sure because it is very complicated.
Wait, is it FPS? I thought it was third person.
It's it's a shooter. It's third person shooter. That is extremely like when I opened it and I saw how many heroes are available already, characters. It's like I don't know, 15 or 7, something like that. I was like, okay, that's a little overwhelming. And then they're like, oh, and there's a shop, and I'm like, huh? And then I looked at all the items. I'm like, oh no. There's a lot of items going on here. There's gonna be a lot of builds, and like they have a cool thing in the shop. So it's just very complicated. It's like I'm sure this might be in Dota 2 now. I think it is also. Where like big part of that is getting the economy right and making sure you get the right items and trying to work towards your late end game items to really affect stuff or whatever. So you're building up a character that'll affect your stuff. And they do try to help with like when you open up the shop, like, hey, here's popular builds people do. But then I'll open it and there'll be like 50 items. And they're like, there's no explanation what they're like, all these are good for them. I'm like, well, I can only have like 12. And it'll take me the entire game to get 12. So what the fuck are we doing? And so there's no guidance on that. So that stuff still, I mean, it's a work in progress game, but it's there's laning in it. There's 4 lanes on a map that you go down, and there's little creeps going just like a MOBA. The heroes are out there. What was interesting to me was trying to get used to how they handle the shooting in it. I mean, the shooting feels good and stuff, but it's like in so many shooters out there, like ammo's not a humongous deal. You know what I mean? Like you're probably not going to run out, and reloading, other than catching you in a second, like, oh, I did it the wrong time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sorry, you're getting a little quiet.
I haven't changed anything. How about now?
Back to normal.
Yeah, back to normal. That was weird. That was weird.
But so that's a thing. But in this, like reload is like quite a while. And like some of the characters, you don't really change their guns. Like with certain items, you can change the amount of ammunition you have and stuff. But planning for that is because it's very difficult to do, because you can be like chasing down someone and they have just a little sliver of stuff health. Like, oh, I'm gonna get him. Oh, I have to reload, and it's like, oh, I have to wait for this circle. Oh, they're gone. It's like, oh, what a fucking bummer, dude. And there's so many of those little moments in there. It's a really hard, like, it's not like any shooter I think I've played that's a competitive shooter in that way. Like, it's so much more strategic, and obviously each hero's got their own abilities and stuff. What's really cool is that there's not like one-to-ones like, hey, this is so and so from Overwatch or something. They're all pretty different, unique things going on. Yeah, but they're all super complicated, and some are very utilitarian in what they do, and like are really only good if someone else is there with you, kind of thing. And it's, I don't know, it's a hard game. Like, part of me, like, I really want to spend more time on it, but it's like, dude, I have to know so much to be effective.
Sounds like there's a massive learning curve.
It's just like a MOBA. Yeah, there is. Like, if you're starting Dota or League of Legends, you're like, all right, oh, there's how many characters and how many what? And because part of it, you want to know that stuff, because it's like, if I get into a situation where, oh, there's that guy, that hero, whatever.
Like, what can I expect them to be?
Yeah, how can I react to that? And that's the big part of it, is like knowing what to do when. And you can't know that unless you have a working knowledge of pretty much everybody.
Yeah,
of something. So it's tough. Like, what is this guy like? Because I don't know him all. I'm like, what does that guy do? Oh my god, run! Like,
that sounds like my fucking hell. Just the idea of having to do like that much pre-research and like pre-reading to get to even the base like, you can not even pick up the game and you start behind. That,
I mean,
that sounds like
you
hell.
Still have fun with just playing it as you want to. You just won't be as there's just some moments where you'll be like, I didn't know that was a thing, or like, oh, I wish I would have known, I could have avoided that, or whatever. So there's still a lot of enjoyment, because I mean, you're still shooting stuff even if you're not killing like enemy heroes. Like, there's stuff to do. There's little creep camps you can go take out. There's in the game also. There's the little guys running along the lanes, and you're pushing towards like their versions of like towers that you would be taking down, like in a MOBA. Like, there's all that still to do. But everybody's got a decent amount of like movement and maneuverability and stuff. So like, learning how those work with different heroes, and knowing how like people can get away in and out relatively easily and stuff. And it's not so easy to kill people, and it's like it's can be pretty tough.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting game.
Yeah, I booted it up a couple weeks ago, and I thought, oh, it'd be kind of cool to check this out. And then I saw immediately that, like what you were talking about, the wall of how many characters. Like, it's not even that many characters compared to like League or Dota, right?
Like 15, I think.
Yeah. And then when you just see how many there are, they each have 4 abilities and they all play very differently. And then also, like you said, the items, right? To me, I was like, I do not have the time to dedicate to learning a whole new MOBA. I did my time in League, and that because when I think about League, even like saying something like I did my time, yeah, because like even saying something like AP Alistair, right? To understand what that means, you need to know so much about the game and the items and how to build just that one character and what that means and how that impacts your gameplay and the team. Like, you know, there's just, it's like an encyclopedia of knowledge that you need to know.
Yeah, I was there with Dota. So I knew it's very complicated. And this seems to be going that route. It's doing, I mean, people are playing it. It's peaking every day, like 100,000 people.
Yeah, like it's clear. It's definitely got its hooks in.
One thing we were talking about before we started recording was like how like so many Valve games you never hear about ever. Like, they don't make general news. Like, unless you're playing the game, you don't really hear about Counter-Strike. But like over 1 million people are playing it right now. Like
no matter when you're listening to this, over 1 million people playing.
About 1 million people playing. Yeah. Which is crazy. Like that, and like Dota still, like you hear about like the internet, you know, the big tournaments, like prize pool every year, and that's kind of the only news outside of the community that you hear. And this feels like it's gonna be another one of those games where like they really, really get in their niche and like really get it, and those people really like it, and it goes really far. one thing that I find irritating is that when you look at the heroes, unless you've played them, you don't know what kind of gun they use.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, gun in quotation marks. I feel like
Well,
some of them don't even have guns. Like,
true, but what's their projectile? Because they all shoot something.
yeah,
But like one guy, oh, this is a shotgun guy, and you're like, oh, all right, well, that's a completely different play style than you would think. One, doesn't shoot that fast. One's like a pistol. One's like oh, there's a lot going on to know. Like you would, I didn't even think about that till last night. I was looking at a guy and I'm like, wait, this fucker shoots. Like I don't even know if I want to play him. Like how does this guy work? Just in that, because I know the abilities do, but I have no idea what anything else does.
yeah.
But I think this is going to be popular for a while because I think they're going to be doing a lot of tweaking to it. Like I was mentioned to you before you were recording, there was one time I was playing a game and then I tried to play another one and it said my client was out of date, so I had to update it. And then I think I remember seeing an update go out after that again. Like they were updating it multiple times a day, some days. So they're constantly doing stuff. But there's already like the bones of like if you could play a totally enjoyable game that works pretty much. I mean, I'm sure there's stuff that I don't even know about metagaming and certain like tweaking they got to do for balance and stuff that I have no idea.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see the MOBA thing like translated into a different kind of genre that actually works well.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt this is because Gabe is such a huge fucking Dota nerd, and
Yeah.
I was pushing this big time, I'm assuming. And what's smart about them too is that Valve's got such good, like something that was a problem with. Why am I forgetting even the name? Not Battleborn.
Wait, like another MOBA?
No, not like a hero shooter thing. There was some.
Oh,
I know there's
Paladins.
Yeah. Anyway, like what they do is they don't give you a good idea of like what. Like if you look at the hero, you're like, I don't know what their deal is. Like not just a unique silhouette, which is important. Like they have a unique look to them, but like I don't understand this guy just by the visually. And Valve, every single one, I'm like, oh, I kind of get what you're up to. Like I see what's going on here.
Yeah.
And that's what Overwatch did really well and has done really well. Like immediately, like, oh, easy. I know exactly what this guy's all about. For sure. So they do that part really well. So I think that's what will help with having some staying power, some nice success. Because like if you look at something like, it feels funny to dunk on Lawbreakers, but they all just look like normal ass shooter dudes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, Valve of course is very good at what they do. So Artifact being the like one bummer.
Yeah, that was like the one miss. Yeah.
But this seems like an in-house passion project thing that's gonna do well. I'm assuming it's gonna be around forever. I mean, there's still like 70,000 people playing Team Fortress 2 right now.
Yeah,
and that has constant people whining about no updates and like the bot problems and like there's issues and like they still play it.
Yeah. Yeah, but also like TF2's been around for like so long now that it's like I can understand why Valve is like, okay, we're gonna focus now on Deadlock because
yeah.
there's
Another thing I was gonna mention with Deadlock that I really like, it's got a unique, it's got a really cool vibe that I like a world. Like one of the main dudes in the like main menu that you see is this like detective looking guy. So it's all like set in this like feels like this 20s detective story, but like weird automata like what's the word? Steampunk kind of city in a way. So I have no idea if there's a lore to it or something. I'm sure there is.
probably.
But it's really cool setting also.
Yeah, I mean you are right about that because it does feel very like kind of like 1930s gangsters in Chicago,
It's something like that.
but also steampunk and noir-y a little.
Yeah, there's some noir vibes to it. Like there's the certain bits of music that I really like when you're sitting in the menu, like, oh damn, that's actually pretty rad. And it really sets the vibe for it, what you're going to. But it's a great game of back and forth too. Like there's definitely avenues of getting back into it. Just like if you get a well-timed team kill or something like that, like and march your way over there and try to really turn the tide, you can definitely do that in this. So it's pretty good. gonna have a lot of frustrated people too. I'm sure, just like MOBAs do. But
I could definitely see people getting sweaty and toxic over.
yeah, I don't
over
know
this
if
one.
there's. I haven't looked for if there's a even a key binding for it, but I've not seen any like team chat or global chat going on. So I don't know if they have that off right now.
I mean, that would just add a whole other mountain of issues to deal with, you know?
'Cause there was one game I was playing last night. I was not doing well. I'm like, oh god, some people fucking hate me right now. Like,
You're feeding.
I was a character that I was played against. I'm like, oh, that guy was really annoying. I'm gonna try to play him. I was like, oh, this guy is hard to play.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, but it was pretty fun. I'm excited to see where it goes. I mean, considering they just shadow dropped it and have said basically nothing about it, like officially, other than play it.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see what they decide to do with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it feels like a nice breath of fresh air in like kind of that MOBA competitive space.
Well, like,
you know,
it's not to put down other like shooter stuff, but in terms of the multiplayer shooter space, there's not a lot of innovation that happens there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? For the most part, they're all kind of pretty similar. They just have weird maps, or like the biggest innovation was Battle Royale.
Mm-hmm. But that's kind of just like Fortnite and Warzone nowadays.
Yeah, so to me, it's like in terms of like the actual Call of Duty now feels pretty similar to as it has for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're doing new stuff. I'm not going to take away from the teams. They do a lot of shit, but like in terms of how it feels, it's Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm. And I'll say the Omni movement does feel kind of neat in the new Black Ops game. I mean, I checked it out in the beta, so
there you go.
I'm looking forward to like seeing how it'll go in the main game when it comes out.
Oh yeah, I'm not putting down Call of Duty at all. They do good shit. Like there's a reason it's the best-selling franchise every year, just about.
Mm-hmm. For sure. But I think that's a good place for us to put a wrap on this podcast. We hope you enjoyed. And if you did, let us know in the comments down below. Who's your favorite Deadlock hero? Do you feel like you're good with them, or are you still like
Jesus Christ?
Yeah,
that's my favorite, especially when you
say that.
Is there a Jesus in the game that I missed?
No.
But yeah, let us know in the comments down below, YouTube or on Spotify as well. And if you want more from us, we're always publishing news, reviews, features, etc. at TechRaptor.net. That's where you'll find reviews for Dragon Ball and for Metaphor and for like everything else, because we're getting back into the busy season of the year. And if you want more of this show, we will be back in your feed next Wednesday, and we'll see you then.